A second and closely related point that I think is useful in thinking about things existentialistically, and that is to say that value is not only subjective, but value is something that is created, right? And it's created through the commitments, right, that we make. By the commitments, that is to say, starting from that first personal, we externalize and put value and create value in things. And this is in contraposition to much traditional philosophy that says value, again, is out there to be discovered or something that is put upon us. You know, for example, God zaps us, right, in a certain way, and suddenly our lives are filled with meaning. No, we are the creators of value, and we create value through the commitments, right, that we make here. Let me give you some examples here. Think of Thanksgiving. It happens to be that it's now November as we're recording this here. Thanksgiving is coming up shortly. What makes Thanksgiving meaningful, if it is going to have meaning? Well, it's not the case that there is some sort of Thanksgiving aura, right, that is out there that sucks us into it and imbues the holiday of Thanksgiving with spirit. Thanksgiving is going to have meaning to the extent that I or you or anybody commits to the experience, right? We decide to get into the spirit of Thanksgiving and to make that day a special day. We decorate the houses, we dress a certain way, we spend a certain amount of time communicating, we make a point of getting together with people who value to us, we engage in and commit to certain kinds of rituals, and it's through that commitment that we are creating, right, the meaning of Thanksgiving. I have a couple of people in my extended family who shall remain nameless, who seem to have the opposite approach to Thanksgiving. They just kind of show up on Thanksgiving Day. They don't do any of the work. They don't do any of the arrangement. And their attitude seems to be, here I am, make my day special. And of course, it's just not going to happen, right, that kind of way. Value is not out there. It doesn't happen to you. Value is something that you make happen out there through the creative commitments that you carry through. Another example might be relationships again, right? If we think of two people who, they initially see each other, they like what they see, they talk to each other, they go out on some dates, they're gathering all kinds of information, right, and exchanging information and so forth, and all of it might be very promising, but the magic, so to speak, doesn't happen until they make a commitment to the relationship. And it's once they make that commitment, and hopefully both of them make the commitment at about the same kind of time, that commitment creates the relationship and takes that relationship to a whole new level of intensity. Another way to put that point is to say that the existentialists reject what's sometimes called the Cupid's arrow, right, theory of love, that somehow you're just going along minding your own business, and then some supernatural force, Cupid, zaps you, right, with an arrow, and that makes you fall in love. So love is not something that happens to you by an external agency. Love is something that you make happen, right, through the commitments that you engage in. Another example of this commitment issue and the first personal issue, I'll do a little true confessions here. I have a little artifact that at home that I've had ever since I was a young teenager. It's a gift from my parents. At this point, living in Canada, my parents went on a trip to California, and for various reasons I couldn't go on this trip, but they brought back a souvenir for me. And as it happens, the souvenir was a little fake California license plate, and so it says, it's got the California colors on it, and it has my name on it, Steve, right? So I've got this little souvenir. Now this is, as it happens, something that's meaningful to me. I've got it sitting in a box somewhere, and every once in a while I get back, I get it out, and I enjoy looking at it. And it gets put back in the box, and I'll have it until I die. It's not something I'm ever going to get rid of. But the question would then be, why is this thing meaningful to me? Why would I resist losing it? And if I did losing it, extend a certain amount of effort in order to get it back. You might, of course, if I showed you this license plate, I said, fine, there's a billion of them, and chances are there are a billion of them made out of metal with the name Steve on them floating around various places in the world. It has absolutely no value to you, but it has a certain amount of significant value to me. Well, the reason obviously is that I have a personal first-person relationship to this particular piece of metal and paint. You have no such first-personal relationship with this piece of metal and paint. It has no value to you. It has value to me. There's nothing intrinsic, right, in this particular piece of metal that makes it have value to me. Instead, it's a matter of a personal commitment relationship, in effect, that I've developed with this piece of metal over time. Okay, that's two things. The first person, not the third person. That is to say, the subjective, not the objective or intrinsic approach to value, and this issue of creative commitment bringing about value as opposed to some sort of passive discovery as what brings about value. Third thing I would emphasize as a useful way of thinking about existentialist value has to do with time. We are likely mortal. Okay? Everything has its moment, everything has its day, everything has its season, but eventually it passes on. For many people, the fact of mortality is a very crushing, right, blow, and that then leads them to long for immortality, and religious versions of philosophy in many cases exalt this into a devoted quest for immortality and placing all of one's hopes on what will happen in eternity after one's bodily death here. From the existentialist perspective, this thinking about value in eternal terms, or the idea that only things that are long-lived, immortal, eternal, not subject to temporal comings and goings, that only those things have value, that is the wrong way to think about value. Value is inescapably temporal. Value in the real world, in the natural world, is subject to the comings and goings, and we should be able to commit to values all the while knowing that we are committing to things that come and go.